Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 393, Halloween Games.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation is brought to you by GameToppersLLC.com. They're really awesome, especially in time for the holidays. You want to show off to your family and friends when they come over for the holidays. Look, I have such an amazing space to play board games. Check them out, GameToppersLLC.com.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I am Andy Holliday.
I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I am, as foretold, Logan Howard.
Check out our website, meeplenation.com. We have all sorts of goodies there for you to check out. We have blogs. We have all of our episodes. All of our future episodes will also be put on our website. And if you would like, you can check out our bios. Check us out, meeplenation.com.
This week, as foretold, we are discussing Halloween games. So we are discussing Halloween games or games that happen around the Halloween season. I have to include that because we have a couple that are not Halloween games, but more related to the Day of the Dead. Distinguish that those two game types are different. They're at the same time. They might coincide with our episode.
'Tis the season, and it's a much better season to celebrate.
Logan's bestest season to celebrate.
I was trying to think of some of the games that we don't talk about all that often, or maybe some of the new games, because, well, new games are generally my jam.
Are generally better than old games.
Yeah.
So I'm old. Does that mean you're better than me?
I don't know if you're really all that
By a
much
few years.
older than me when you take into account attained age, which includes number of children in jail, and all of those factors.
Grandchildren.
Grandchildren almost have an opposite effect.
I think when you factor in all those things, yeah, you probably out-age me.
I do most people, actually, nowadays. And I'm looking around and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, so I won't bring up some of the games that come to mind. The game that I was really thinking of that fits the theme here, Bloodborne, the card game. Played it for the first time fairly recently. Pretty simple game, somewhat of a deck builder. Everybody starts with a starting deck. Everybody will choose to play a card face down.
It's more of a hand builder.
Hand management.
You're trying to cycle your starting cards out of your hand so you get your upgraded cards in your hand.
Everybody flips over and reveals their card they chose at the same time. And it's usually like a weapon. Sometimes it's a card that lets you go into the dream state, or a card that lets you wait to see what everybody else played so that you can choose a different weapon. Because there are monsters. Some of them are boss monsters. Some of them are basic monsters. If a monster only has 4 hit points, Logan's the active player, and he plays a weapon that does 2 to it, and Andy plays a weapon that does 1 to it, and Nathan plays a weapon that does 1 to it. By the time it gets to my turn, it's already dead. Knowing that, I might have chosen a different card. So if I played this card that lets me transform a weapon, I may want to play my pistol. Because the pistol, if I'm the only one who played it, then it is the first one to strike the monster. It puts me in the first position. In that case, Nathan would actually miss out and not actually hurt the monster. So he wouldn't collect any blood, which he would then not be able to turn into points. Also, if you damage the monster, turn in which it dies, then you gain a trophy. You have a card that you move a marker up at the end of the game. Depending on where that marker is, you get points based on that spot. Pretty simple. You start with just 5 cards in your deck. You can hold a max of 7 trying to kill monsters. When you wound them, you get blood for each point that you deal. Storing this blood up, and on a later turn, you want to play the Hunter's Dream card, which allows you to bank the collected blood, and then you can reclaim all your action cards. Because all these cards, when you play them, they stay in a discard pile or a played pile until you get them back. So your hand is getting smaller as you go. After reclaiming all your cards, you can gain a new upgrade. There are 3 face-up cards in a pile that everybody has access to and can choose from, and it goes in turn order. So if multiple people do the Hunter's Dream, you go in turn order. Cards get replaced immediately. Choose which card you want. Reset your hit points to the maximum. It's extremely simple. Pretty quick game. Andy, you didn't love our iteration of it because I broke it.
Yes, you did.
Like you do with almost any game that's possible to break, yes.
There just happened to be a couple of cards that came out that worked immaculately together, and they came out very early. I saw the first one and I realized how powerful it was going to be, and so I did the Hunter's Dream. So this card, it allowed me to basically enter the Hunter's Dream after having played my weapon. It's a weapon, participates in battle, and then enters the Hunter's Dream during that phase. So I get it back every round. I bank all my blood. Throughout this game, you have the possibility of losing your banked blood if you die. Before you get to wound the monsters attack you, and they can sometimes pack a punch and take you from full to dead. Cool game. I broke it. There were some awesome cards in it. That, for me, is fun, so...
Not for everybody else playing, but yeah, I can see why it was fun for you.
For any of you that are game designers out there and you need someone to playtest your game and see if it's breakable, send it to Dave, because he'll find a way.
Probably fun for anybody else that picks it up, as long as they don't play with Dave.
The funny thing is, after that game, we looked up to see if we were playing it wrong, and there was somebody who had a very similar story. They got this combination early on, and it was craptacular after that.
So let's talk about Abomination. We got to play this recently. I always have a very fun time playing.
I have a soft spot in my heart for this game.
You're a scientist, and you've either been forced, coerced, convinced, or...
Excited
to aid Frankenstein's monster in creating another monster. He's lonely, he needs another monster. Commissioned several different scientists to try to recreate what Dr. Frankenstein was able to do. Player has their own laboratory, your table where you're going to be building body parts and creating this monster, and then you have the main game board, which is in Paris, and you have different locations. This is where the worker placement comes into play. The very first thing that's going to happen in the round is we're going to have either an event or an encounter. Events happen to everyone. On the bottom corner, sometimes there's a little icon. There will be a storm, which I'll explain what that does, and sometimes there's an execution, which means super fresh body for the taking, whoever can get there first. Each of the locations, typically going to be locations where you can acquire different materials from body parts. This game's a little macabre. Maybe that's why Logan likes it so much.
I was going to say, is that French for awesome?
You're going around so you can go to the cemetery and raid the cemetery. But you may get just a skeleton. You're going to draw the top 3 cards. Usually 2 options that you can perform with each card. If you go to the cemetery, typically it's perform a dissection and increase your expertise. Or you can gain the materials. So, for example, if you find a skeleton, you're going to gain bones. If you find a fresher corpse, you're going to gain maybe some muscle tissue and some organs and some bones. However, the fresher the corpse, more likely you are to lose humanity by digging up that corpse and gaining materials or the expertise from it. You have 3 attributes that you're trying to balance. You have your expertise, you have your reputation, and you have your humanity. As you raise these attributes or they get lowered, there's benefits or downsides to that. You can't lower your expertise and your reputation below 0, but your humanity you can. And if you get your humanity too low, it gets stuck. It goes all the way down, you can't ever raise it. You're a lost soul at that point. You've become the monster that you were actually trying to create.
Which I think should be an achievement. It shouldn't be a detriment.
As you're gaining these materials, there's other locations. You can go to the hospital, you can donate your services and your time, you can work, you can gain money, different ways to gain reputation. Humanity is suffering, you can go to the church and gain some humanity back. Also a card that you can play later in the round or later in the game. You also can go to the docks, which is where you're going to hire some people of ill rapport.
Buddies.
Buddies. You can hire cutthroats down there. You can hire hospital thieves. You can hire dog catchers. Once again, you have 2 or 3 options on each of these cards that you get to do. Typically, the more
/ fresher materials, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The more likely you are to lose humanity. If you go to the hospital has usually really fresh materials, but you have to have a high enough reputation to gain bodies from the hospital. If you have a high enough reputation to gain those bodies, you're not going to lose any of your humanity. Once everybody's placed all their workers, everybody's passed during the city phase, you move to the laboratory phase. And this is where you build your monster. 4 different tiers of freshness. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Use those materials. Each body part has 2 stages that you're going, technically 3 stages that you're going to try to get each part up to. The bone and muscle stage, the finish stage, which is where there's skin and all the finishing touches on it, and then you want to make that body part alive. First, you're going to build body parts. You have to meet the threshold of your expertise level for each individual part. Arms are the easiest to create. Legs are the second easiest, then the torso, then the head. You can also flip your reference card, which will tell you what you need to finish, what materials are required, and what expertise is required to finish each of those body parts. Once you have a single or multiple body parts that are finished, you can flip the switch at the end of the lab phase. To flip the switch, you have Leyden jars. You have to purchase these at the market on the board. If they are charged, you can flip the switch. You get 2 dice for every Leyden jar that you have charged, and you're going to roll those dice. You're trying to get eyeballs. If you roll that and you're successful with it, then you're going to put the little eyeball token on your finished body parts. The lightning bolts means that you have body parts that take damage. However many lightning bolts you get, you're going to gain those tokens, and you have to place priority on body parts that are not yet damaged. Once a body part has taken 2 damage, it gets flipped, downgraded, or if it's at its base muscle and bone level, it's taken off the board and you have to start over. If you successfully get your monster completely finished and completely living, the game ends. Otherwise, the game goes 12 rounds. Such a fun game. We've really enjoyed playing it. We need to play it with you, Nathan, so that you can experience it.
I look forward to trying it. I was hoping to try it last week. We ended up sticking with one game, gathering around one table, so we didn't get a chance to play that last week.
Artwork is a little bit gruesome, so it's not for younger players so much. It's a little macabre.
So if you are wanting to try a game similar to this, that is less grotesque, I would suggest Creature Features, a game designed by our friend Chris McClanahan. It's a similar where you're trying to put together a monster. You have to gather arms, torso, head, legs. With this game, you're collecting classic creatures from Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, werewolf, an alien, the Swamp Thing, trying to go through and collect these pieces to be the first player to create your abomination. If you're the first player to do that, great, you win. Very simple, 2 to 3 player game. What I really love about this game is the packaging. It looks like it's an old VHS cassette tape. For those of you who are older and actually know what a VHS cassette tape looks like, very retro thematic because it's going with those old monsters from the 60s and early 70s. That's a great simple little game, and that's Creature Features.
That sounds fun.
So there's another game, as you alluded to earlier, Nathan, is Die of the Dead. Just recently, they came out with an expansion for it that introduces solo / 1 through 5 players can play this mode. It changes it from less chaotic luck to more of a puzzle type game. You're trying to draft different dice and put them up on the friend in specific order to get victory points. If you're interested, that expansion is a print and play for free. The creator's looking to do a limited actual expansion, so you can go to the website radical8games.com. And if you're interested, you can sign up to try and get a copy of the produced expansion, or you could just get a copy of the print and play for free and try it that way.
Cool. Glad they're coming out with more content for that, because that's a fun game.
While we're talking of the Day of the Dead, there is a great, quick game that's called Skull.
Wonderful artwork.
Art reminiscent of the sugar skulls that are associated with Day of the Dead. This is a bluffing game. So each player is going to put down one of their 4 tiles. One of those tiles is one of those sugar skulls. The other 3 tiles, and I guess by tiles I mean discs. They're round. They're like little coasters, but they have different flowers on them. Everybody's going to put one of their discs face down, and then whomever is the start player is going to choose to either say, I can flip over X amount of discs without drawing a skull, or they have the option to add additional tile to the pile in front of them. Play will continue going around the table until somebody decides they're going to attempt to flip over tiles. After the first person says, I'm going to flip over X tiles, then it goes around the table and have the opportunity to either pass, saying, nope, I'm not doing it, or to increase that bid until everybody but the last remaining player has passed. Then at that point, that remaining player flips over all the tiles in front of themselves. If you have 3 tiles in front of you and you're saying you're going to flip over 6 discs, all 3 of those in front of you must be flipped over. If you reveal a skull, you're going to lose one of your tiles. The game continues with less tiles. Otherwise, if I flip over the 3 in front of me, now I got to find 3 others. Well, then I'm going to go around the table and I'm going to say, okay, I'll take one of Dave's, I'll take one of Logan's. I can go back to Dave or Logan or over to you, Andy.
But picking from the top going to the bottom.
Yeah, it has to be from the top of that stack. Go around until you are successful flipping the number of tiles that you wagered you were going to flip. And if you are successful, then you flip over your home tile, signifying that you have won one round. And then if you are successful at a second round, then you win the game. The game takes maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Depending on the number of players, right? How many people have to get
true.
eliminated. Kind of depends on how many people get eliminated. And it seems like more people get eliminated faster than one person getting their tile flipped over twice. But
yeah, I'm sure it's intentional, but if your tile gets eliminated because you found a skull, then your first player, it almost feels like that person's on the fast track to either A, winning, or B, being eliminated. It's one of the two.
Monique and Julie introduced to us during Hug a MeepleCon. She introduced this to Logan, and I'm not sure if you played it.
I didn't play it there, no.
We had a ton of fun. I believe, Logan, you bought it right then and there.
Yeah, I pulled a Sarah.
It's been fun. That's a game that we'll pull out at the end of game night and just kind of a cool down, if you will. Play a little bit of Skull before the night is over.
And the nice thing about Skull is it's similar to number 9. If you get multiple copies, it's pretty easy just to expand that player count. It meshes well, expanding it. But that's Skull.
One of the games that I really like, and I have a really, really, really hard time getting people to play, is Nightfall.
Well, Dave stepped out. Dave had homework to return to. He's not here to complain about your game.
That's true. Dave doesn't like this game because he says he can't seem to wrap his head around it. The reason why Dave dislikes this game is one of the reasons why I really like this game. It has a mechanic in it that is so unique. I've never seen any other game that has had this mechanic in it. This is a deck builder. First of all, you have common cards in the middle of the board like that you can purchase like any other deck builder. But you also do a draft at the beginning of the game. You're going to draft 2 cards, and you're going to look at those cards and try to make sure that they will chain. They're compatible with the center card, so you can do some chaining. Once you pick those 2 cards, those are going to be your private archives. So you can purchase from those 2 stacks that you've drafted, but nobody else can. Everybody's deck is going to be a little bit unique. Each player is going to have unique cards that are available only to them during the game. Each card will have 3 moon symbols on the corner, and those moons will be different colors. There will be a large moon, and then next to it will be a smaller moon on each side, and those will be different colors. The main color of the card is the large moon. You can only play 1 card on your turn, but you can potentially chain if you play another card that matches the color of one of the smaller moons. If I play a card that has a large red moon, but then it has a smaller green and a smaller blue moon, then I can play an additional card that has a large green moon, and so on, and I can keep chaining until I can't chain anymore.
That sounds so up Dave's alley, I don't know why.
I know, it does. He just can't seem to wrap his head around that. There's also an ability called a kicker ability. I play a card, my chained card, has a kicker ability with a red moon. If the previous card I played was red, then I can activate that kicker ability. If the card I chained off of is red, then I can activate it. Also, once I'm done playing cards, it goes around the table and anybody else can also chain off of my cards. You can play cards out of turn. I think part of the reason why Dave doesn't like it as well, it's going to be a bit like Magic the Gathering. Because you're going to be playing monsters in front of you, and those monsters have to attack at the beginning of your turn. And you choose who they attack. And you're going to either take damage, or you're going to have the monsters and minions you have in front of you defend. And each monster's health different. It's based on little tick marks on the sides of the cards. 1, 2, 3, or 4 health. And do damage based on their strength. This game is so fun. I love the chaining ability of it. It's just so unique to play. But I don't get to play it very often. It's probably been at least 2 years since I played it last. And it was with Dave. And he humored me and got his butt kicked and then said he was never playing it again. So,
And he actually stuck to that.
He actually stuck to it. I haven't forced the issue. I'm sure he would play again if I forced the issue. But great game. The theme is right up Logan's alley for sure. Vampires, lycanthropes, hunters, ghouls.
There's not much to make me happy. Murder, monsters, like...
Murder monsters.
You can wrap it into nice fuzzy bows. It can be more kid-friendly. It still makes me happy. Escape Haunted Mansion Scooby-Doo. Kind of an escape room-like game. It's great. Scooby and the Gang. It ties a lot of that theme and macabreness into like a very kid-friendly environment, but it still makes me happy. It's Scooby and the Gang, and you're trapped in this haunted mansion. You're trying to escape. No one is an individual character. You're going through and solving this mysteries, and it was a lot of fun. We need to play it again because I don't think we finished.
No, it's a 2-part, and we only did the first part. And it was funny. We talked about it when we first played it. Everybody tried to do their best Shaggy voice. Everybody else's Velma and Daphne and Fred voices were all just kind of blah. But
Fred doesn't have a unique voice, right?
Yeah, but everybody tried their best Shaggy and their best Scooby, so it was that was good times all in itself. My oldest daughter is very similar to you, Logan, that she loves Halloween.
She's like one of the only Howards I know that likes Nightmare Before Christmas, one of my favorite Disney movies.
I enjoy the movie. I don't enjoy it as much as you do, obviously, but...
Oh, I watch it maybe 15 times between October through December.
Yeah, I don't like it that much. Because of her, we picked up Scooby-Doo and Escape from the Haunted Mansion, and we also picked up Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion, which is based on Betrayal at House on the Hill. It uses similar mechanics, similar feel, more lighter Scooby-Doo theme. It allows you to draw in some of your younger fans. And then just going to Betrayal House on the Hill is an exploration game where you're exploring the haunted house. You're trying to solve the mystery. The great thing about it is, start of the game, everybody is the same team. And then, so when the haunt begins, most of the time, whoever initiated that haunt will become the betrayer, become the villain. They step out, have to read how their win condition is. The remaining players read their win condition. All players come back to the table.
So the Scooby-Doo version, it actually clarifies that it's not necessarily who triggered the haunt becomes the traitor, however you want to phrase that player at that point. It's whoever feels comfortable, and then it can be randomized if there's multiple people that feel comfortable. Younger audience, maybe they can't grasp their head around playing the different ways. They can still play on the team. Whoever wants to can step aside and become the traitor.
Scooby-Doo Betrayal at Haunted Mansion is a simpler version, so maybe you can play with some of those younger audiences to lead them down the Logan path and still that thrill of Halloween in them. Betrayal at House on the Hill, great version. Like you mentioned, Logan, it does require that one of those players is going to become the traitor and have to have a whole new win condition for them to be able to play the game.
I would be remiss if I did not mention Eaten by Zombies. Eaten by Zombies was actually designed by my cousin, Max Holiday. It is a deck builder. It's an interesting game. Your hand of cards, you're going to have sticks, which will give you +1 fight. You have hide cards, which gives you +1 flee. And you also have 2 sandwiches in your starting deck, which give you +1 flee and +1 draw. You're going to face a zombie. It will have a fight value and a flee value. And you have to choose whether you're going to fight it or whether you're going to try to flee from it. And you're trying to be the last person to survive the zombie apocalypse. Depending on what you choose, if you choose to fight the zombie and you defeat the zombie, then it goes to your discard pile. If you choose to flee from the zombie, then it goes to the zombie discard pile. But whatever you choose, if you choose to flee, you're going to add up your flee value from all your cards. You can play whatever cards you want. If you choose to fight, you're going to add up all your fight value. Whatever you choose, that's going to be what you're going to have to purchase. It's additional cards, which counts as the swag that you find during the games as you're venturing out from your hideout. There's going to be typically more fight cards that you can purchase than there will be flee cards, and they'll typically be higher. Fight cards are going to give you more money to work with, but it's also going to put zombies into your discard pile. And whenever you draw a zombie into your hand, you can never get rid of that zombie. And once your hand fills up with zombies, you then become a zombie. You're dead. You're out of the game. If you're the last person that does not have a handful of zombies, then you win the game. Artwork is very unique. The gameplay is unique. Some of the items are just awesome. So you can get a fistful of ammo. You can get a shotgun. Just very thematic on the zombie apocalypse. Fun game. It's been out for quite a while. They published this back in 2011, but it is still available. They do have an expansion out, so highly recommend this game. It's a good one.
It was a very fun game. I liked the whole theme of you are the last man standing. You're trying to outrun everybody, and hopefully you can get away.
The old adage, I don't have to be the fastest, just faster than you.
It's a bear chase.
Exactly. Yep, the bear chase.
And that is Eaten by Zombies.
All right, so there's another one that we actually got this year that is Fright. It's a dice hucking game. If all the individual dice are individual, then whoever is the highest wins. They get to scare somebody, so everybody has their own 3D tombstone, and then you have fright tokens on there, and as soon as somebody scares you, you remove one of those tokens. You draw a card from the deck that have powers and whatnot, so make sure you read the cards. Then it goes on to the next round of dice chucking and scaring somebody, and then it has special rules. If there's a tie, it beats the highest die roll, so if there's a 6 and 2 4s, then the 4s win. Both those players get to scare somebody. So you're playing with 4 people, and there's a set of 4s and a set of 2s. The set of 2s win. It's actually fairly simple when you're playing. It's a great, easy game. If you don't fully love the people you're playing with, it's great, because it gets a lot of take that.
It does have that for sure. In this game, I find that the game is so quick. The take that isn't that long lasting, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The game ends, and so there's other...
Mine lasted through the next game. I really wanted Dave to lose.
If you hold grudges, then that's different. Let's say someone scares you and you have to take one of the sleeves off of your tombstone. Whenever that happens, you get to draw a card.
And the cards have abilities unless Dave steals them all from you.
Correct. The abilities can be really quite useful. And you can use some of them once you're a ghost.
Forgot to mention that once you lose all your tokens and you die and become a ghost, you're not out of the game. You're still playing.
There's a chance. If everybody dies on the same round, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Played the game several times now. Played several quick games here. I played a game with my family, and that one ended up in the tie. I was the first one dead because everybody likes to pick on me because they think I win games all the time. I have proof that's not the case. But they like to pick on me because I guess maybe I'm the more experienced gamer. And the following round quickly turned out that everybody could die. Everybody's in the kumbaya spirit. Well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make sure that we all just die so we all win together. So that does happen.
I don't know. The website that I'm reading right here. Do you like game night but hate Monopoly? Are you motivated by cold sweet revenge in a safe setting? This is your game.
There we go. One thing that first struck me when we started setting this game up for the very first time were the components.
Very high quality.
The tombstones are just cool looking. Everything's just nice, high quality. It's kind of a cool game board. Quick to set up, quick to play. It's a fun one.
Pieces are great. You have a tombstone. You have the 5 scare tokens that go on top of that tombstone to essentially cover it up. And then as you remove those, then you expose your complete tombstone. If your tombstone is exposed, you lose. I thought it was very enjoyable. It's something quick, easy to play. Play it on that seasonal get-together. Easily incorporate other people that are less gamery.
It's not available on Amazon or eBay. You have to go to their website, which you can actually find just by going to Fright the Board Game. You can go to BGG, and they have a link to their website, which is called frightthegame.com, and that's the only place you can order that one right now.
Great game. Check it out. I'm sure we will be playing it at Hug a MeepleCon.
Yeah.
We're kind of talking about this last man standing. We've gone from Eaten by Zombies to Fright. There's a couple other games out there that have this theme to it. One of those is Alone. Not necessarily Halloween themed, but it is definitely a horror theme. It's a sci-fi survival horror game, kind of a slight dungeon crawler. The great thing about it is players can only produce light within the area around them. You place down tiles. As soon as you move into a tile, that tile is illuminated. Tiles that are adjacent to it are illuminated. And then as you leave and you move through the area, those other tiles fade out of your light. You're trying to not get caught by the monsters and then to excel at hiding in the darkness. You try to survive so that you can play in the next round. I only played it the first time to learn it, and then we never got it to a table. And another one that's kind of similar to that, we haven't even broke the shrink wrap on yet, is called The Night Cage. You awaken the darkness, your skin is cold, your mind is blank, you have nothing but your fear, a flickering candle, and a question, how long will you last? Crawling through this pitch black labyrinth, equipped with nothing but the dim candles. You must work together to explore the maze and escape. Your weak candles illuminate only your immediate surroundings, so very similar to Alone, and then you never know what's lurking in the dark. Unlike Alone, The Night Cage is a fully cooperative, horror-themed tile placement game. Plays 1 to 5 players. This is one that, Logan, I think you will actually really enjoy once we get it to the table.
I've actually played it with Brent, and I did enjoy it, so you were correct.
So there you go. That you've played it, you can teach us how to play.
Oh, yes. Because I think it was in your blog you were talking about how you played a game, but it's been too long since we played so many. It's way out recent memory.
So we asked our listeners on Meeple Nation off air what game you all like to play during the Halloween season, and Ben Stein mentioned Fury of Dracula.
Which we played the other day.
We did. We try to play this once a year during Halloween, and had a good time. I don't know if that's because I won the game, why I had fun, but I had fun.
I still enjoyed it.
I was very impressed that you were able to elude us.
It came down to the wire, really. I think that's what made it more fun, as close as it was to there being a conflict, and I was pretty low on health, so I don't think I would have survived any sort of battle with the hunters.
Yeah, it was a unique play because we never actually battled.
We did not, no. I managed to elude you without actually having to fight you. Ben had mentioned that it was one of the most enjoyable gaming experiences that he has ever had. He was Dracula and successfully evaded his son's vampire hunters for several hours. Russell Thacker mentioned Mysterium,
which is a great themed game. It has the theme, but it doesn't have to be forced upon you if you don't want to, so it's like one that you can play other times of the years just fine.
Yeah.
But it's one that's great if you turn down the lights, has some flickering light bulbs, some theme music, makes all the difference.
Never tried it like that, but that sounds like it would be fun.
We'll hold hands during it. It'll be much better.
So I have Mysterium. I know, Nathan, you have Mysterium. It's one I really like playing with my kids. And I love being the ghost in Mysterium. For me, that's far more enjoyable than being one of the mediums.
And they do have that new version of Mysterium, which, unfortunately, we just haven't been able to get to the table yet. Mysterium Park. Hopefully we'll be able to get to the table before Halloween.
And it goes up to 6 players, which is awesome for us, since that's usually an issue.
We're close to being out of time. We can't have a Halloween episode and not talk about Arkham Horror. Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness, Arkham Horror Final Hour, Arkham Horror the card game, and even games that are somewhat silly, like Don't Mess with Cthulhu, Cthulhu Realms. All those games definitely fit into the theme. Along with zombie games, Dead of Winter, Flick 'em Up, Dead of Winter, Escape Zombie City, Werewolf. You talk about Werewolf, there's all the one-night games. The one-night Werewolf, one-night Aliens, one-night Supervillains, Werewords, and Werebeasts. All of those that are very similar.
Just on the opposite side of that spectrum, instead of like the sillier type games, you have the games that aren't necessarily Halloween, but they just fit perfectly if you want to like lean into it. Folklore, Nemesis, Salem, The Thing at Outpost 31. They're not necessarily Halloween games, but they fit right in if you're planning a themed night.
Folklore is a horror-themed game. I think it definitely fits.
It's one of the reasons why I love it. One of the games that we always mention in our Halloween episode, Hakuona. We've mentioned that for the past couple of years because it's a great game. You should definitely pick it up and try it if you haven't. I thoroughly love that game. Masters of the Night, that's a great game. There's just so many that you can list.
There really are. Shadows of Brimstone, which I think we should do an episode on that game alone. That's a fantastic game.
Another simple one is Zombie Dice. Dice throwing game. Playing as the zombies and you're trying to collect as many brains as you can. On our radar that aren't yet released but we're looking forward to, Unfathomable, which is going back to that Cthulhu, but it's based on mechanics that are found in Battlestar Galactica, the game.
One that I'm super excited for. Kickstarter that should be coming right before Halloween or November. They've sent out the notification. It's Spectre in Vox. It's the 3D house that we talked about a year ago.
Wow, that's been a while ago.
I'd forgotten about that. I saw something that reminded me of that, and I was going to ask you about that.
They're sending out notifications for shipping. I had to pay another arm and a leg to get it shipped here because it's going to be heavy. It's a huge 3D house that has horror medium type story that you're walking through the house, moving figures and whatnot. It's got a hookup for lighting. It's going to be quite intense.
Wow.
I'm pretty excited about this. Just visually, I think this game is going to be awesome.
From what they've promised, additional scenarios after you already have the house. They have an app with it. You already have the base with it that they'll just release extra content.
Oh, that's great. I love that. A little more replayability, especially with the investment in having the house. That's cool.
The only downside will be figuring out how to store it.
Buy a new house.
Buy a new house for your little house.
It seems like that's the only house I can afford to buy anymore. I know we're a board game podcast, but if you find yourself and you're an adult and you would like to watch some Halloween-themed movies or TV shows, The Haunting at Hill House and Midnight Mass on Netflix, 2 thumbs up. You should all check it out.
So that is our Halloween episode. I think we've talked about a ton of Halloween games. Halloween-themed games are fun. Super enjoyable to play, and I look forward to this time of year every single year because there are games that we don't get to the table until this month, and I look forward to getting them to the table.
I'm going to put up some decorations so it'll be Nightmare Before Christmas. We'll play it for months.
All right, fair enough.
Until next time.
We'll see you creeping around the corner. Merry Christmas.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group. Meeple Nation off air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter at Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Braden Detergent for our music.